This podcast is protected under the laws of the United States and other countries. Unauthorized duplication, distribution, or exhibition may result in civil liability, criminal prosecution, and the wrath of the tall man.
Boy! Hey, let's talk about you, the ID10T community events at ID10T.com, like Russ Stevens, a.k.a. Cool Movies Darth, who has started a podcast called 90 for Chill, which Russ says is dedicated to movies with a runtime between 74 and 99 minutes, the time frame that I feel is ideal. Russ, I could not agree with you more. That is a fantastic idea. Russ goes on to say there are times you need a cinematic fix but don't have time for the latest Scorsese masterpiece or offering from a comic book universe. There's also times when you need a conclusion to prevent a binge costing you a whole night. My guests and I try to follow these guidelines as we chat up features that are definitely worth your time and are beyond easy to make time for. 90 for Chill, the podcast, can be found on all major podcast platforms at 90forchill.com, and that's spelling out 90, Ninety, 4 chill. So there you go. Thank you so much for sharing, Russ. Really great idea for a podcast. Events at ID10T.com for everyone else.
Little Hand says it's time to rock and roll.
Bring the noise.
Thank you for checking out 90 for Chill, the podcast with Cat Bus Russ. This is your host, Cat Bus Russ. If you want to get an idea of what might be coming up on the podcast, go and give me a follow on Letterboxd. The username there is CM Darth. That's C as in cool, M as in movies. Darth as in a Sith Lord. And I believe you can get your Amazon Echo or Google Nest device to play this podcast, fill your home with my dulcet tones, by asking your device to play podcast by Russ Stevens. That might bring you onto the old Podbean feed, but we're going to get over that. And needless to say, I've put a big red line saying get off the Podbean feed. So please do that. Follow 90 for Chill, the podcast with Catbus Russ, instead of 90forchill.com, the podcast. Thank you. And this week, I'm just trying my best to take it easy. I am thoroughly exhausted. I've got the head cold. I think it's gone down to the lungs. So I'm considering, just after concluding Thor, Love and Thunder, trying to get myself out to the bars, get rid of some extra business cards, what have you. I ended up having a pretty good week, I'd say, in terms of movies to watch. So we're going to start with the line. Well, basically, we're going to start because I've already written the blog post for it. Hey, doing the most I can with a Sunday. So we're going to start with the 1979 Children's Television Workshop. Classic Teachers Don't Want to Teach movie back on VHS when they rolled that carton. The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe from 1979, as I stated. It's animated by the same guys who did the Peanuts, and I think they should have probably taken a little more character work from the Peanuts. They tried to be unique, and we'll see where that goes. And then I'm trying to get as many Netflix DVDs out of the way as I can. So I finally got around to watching Another Earth, which was a tough watch for me, but a rewarding watch. And not because it's a bad movie and I survived. It's because it's a real movie that's got a lot of issues that I kind of dealt with. So, and it's science fiction without being, well, it's science fiction solely on philosophy. So it's a very interesting picture in that regard. And then we'll get to MC Tuesday with Thor, Love and Thunder. So I'm not going to say anything else right now because maybe I don't want to watch another Marvel movie for a bit. We'll find out about that. So if you want to be a guest on the podcast, go and send an email to russthebus07@gmail.com. That's RUSSTHEBUS07@gmail.com. Or follow me on Twitter at CatBusRuss. Or be really cool and follow me on Mastodon. That's at Russ Stevens at mastodon.social. Just offer me a movie, a theme, a director, an actor. Try to focus on movies between 70 and 100 minutes, but I will make anything work if you're willing to put in some extra work as well. So that's the rules. And If you want to be a real friend of the show, rate and subscribe on your favorite podcast apps. I do reciprocate those reviews. And be as honest as you want. So 5 stars just to get the algorithm going so we can make a better show. And be as honest with your criticism as you want to be in those in the text. That is about it. I just need to, with Thor Love and Thunder, it did leave me thinking a lot about my inspiration, why I'm still trying my best to make something of myself, and that would be Stacia Marie Harden. Thanks for touching my life, and I hope you're looking after everybody's life you touched when you were of the physical realm. And I hope you're taking good care of Skimbleshanks, or I hope he's taking good care of you, or at least offering you some great conversation. You can't fault the one-eared angel. So thanks for coming to the 90 for Chill, the podcast, and enjoy the show.
Adventurous fantasy into a strange and mysterious land. The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Sunday and Monday at 8, 7 Central and Mountain.
This is CBS.
And I've just revisited 1979's animated feature, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, from Bill Melendez Studio via the Children Television Workshop circa 1979. And when I looked Bill Melendez, that's a familiar sounding name. He's the guy responsible for directing or producing, at the very least, many of the Peanuts cartoons. And you can see that connection in this with the design of any of the non-children characters. Those are kind of unique in a sense. Kind of feels like comic, as in comics, the funny pages, dare I say, in the newspapers. And those are very effective, but no, the children designs are just, oh gosh, they are so inconsistent with each other, trying to add little identities to each character, and it just doesn't really work for me. This is a film that was definitely, well, at the end of the credits, you see recommended by the National Education Association, which, okay, let's not go and promote Christianity in schools, but public schools, I should say, but I digress. So I found this DVD on eBay back in at the end of 2021. One of the last things I received at Marine Bank before my unfair dismissal. I thought, well, surely my manager, who is just a year below me in school, who would have seen that, because I figured it was just a go-to substitute teacher, or in my case, my 5th grade teacher, Mrs. Stonewall. So we're talking 1991, 92. She was quite the fan of these novels and reading them in class. It's quite the Christian allegory, of course. That's its reputation. Doesn't say it so much, and I guess C.S. Lewis may have been clever in many ways, like, oh, we'll just call the main character, the character who's the guide, in a sense, the mentor, the professor. So it's science and a lot of magic. Very simple story. Well, they cut out all the setup, actually. I guess you could say they made it so it could fit in any time, not just World War II. So I don't know if that's a good move or not. I think it's probably easier to introduce kids to that way. Hey, if you got to create that propaganda, Children Television Workshop knew how to do it. And I think you get similar things with other projects the CTW have done, like Bridge of Terabithia back in the day, and so on and so forth. No, I'm the atheist now, but I'm not saying I didn't get good things out of Christianity. You know, if it wasn't for my martial arts discipline and Christianity, oh gosh, I could have... I think that kept me from doing anything vengeful, dare I say, because there's a lot of mockery of me living in a town like Morton. Old names still rule. You're not from old money, then you're not... you're kind of secondary. Just being a nerd wasn't really cool back then. Nor do I know if it really is cool in elementary school. But, you know, I'll just have to keep an eye out on my nieces and nephews and keep them nerdy. And if they got problems, let them come to me. They go back. They're two of them are in Morton, so it's like, oh, maybe now without my god, I can go and even some scores. But oh, I digress. So, the story is about 4 children who are living with the professor. And I know the original setup is basically they sent all the children from London to the English countryside to avoid the Battle of London. And really weird because I kind of like, oh, you know what, I'm going to skip to the end of this series and like, whoa, last battle, pretty intense stuff. But during just exploring the house, Lucy, the youngest child, finds a wardrobe to hide in during a hide-and-seek game and ends up just going deeper and deeper inside of it and ends up in a world called Narnia, which is in constant winter based on the whims of the White Witch. And eventually her youngest brother, still older than her, entertained her ideas, ends up meeting the White Witch, and now we've got and after some advice from the professor, like, don't listen to the lying kid, listen to the honest one, we end up creating a situation where we have a war where Edmund is essentially Judas, Aslan is the lion who's going to save the day, representing Jesus, and I guess the White Witch is Satan. Or pick your biblical bitch. So really it's charming, because as I say, this was a constant VHS on days where, I just don't feel like teaching, dare I say. Or a reward for letting her, Mrs. Stonewall, read the Chronicles. And it's the story, the pacing, the story is fine enough. Basically, this is kind of Cliff Notes, I imagine, because I kind of picture this on the same level as the Rankin Bass Hobbit from a year earlier. So, and if you know the history between Lewis and J.R.R. Tolkien, you kind of see where that's going. So, there's just really, I like some of the animation shortcuts they use. I find it kind of charming, especially growing up during that time. I mean, no, I wasn't around in 1979, but, the effect of these movies, cartoons, going into, growing up on VHS. But then there's just some bits where it's like, where you can see the Peanuts influence, like, oh, cut to this person being cheeky, and it's like, yeah, it doesn't really work. And then voice cast is a little weird. The 2 daughters of Eve speak in American accents, or they were really told to lessen their English accent, because I know there's a lot of English actors in there, but the sons of Adam were not. And there's just, we don't get to see Father Christmas, so there's just, like, it's really nuts that basically the message is the ideal world is based on Christianity is in the end. And you just have to peel back those layers. So, I mean, it's a fun, I'd say it's a fun watch if you want to do it with your kids and don't tell them about the entire God thing. We can keep them atheist. As I say, it's a fun, innocent watch, honestly. I mean, as I say, it's magic, it's science, and it's no different than showing your kid my favorite Superman movie, Man of Steel, and just like, see, it's all about being willing to just stand up for what's right. So it's Yeah, it's a nice little flashback to the days where my little brother or sister was renting it from Blockbuster in Peoria. And as I say, I really liked Mrs. Stonewall, one of my favorite teachers. Good person. Well, I don't like breaking the church and state thing. Meant well. So, and she also read A Wrinkle in Time, and I can't really remember that being too much a Christian allegory. But then again, Allie was a big, and like, I want to see the Oprah Winfrey version. So maybe, yeah, I think there's plenty to enjoy. Show them this, and if that inspires them to read the novels, I mean, that's the way to do it. Let us find the faith, I suppose, and don't just place them on it.
This is Dr. Joan Tallis, the United States Planet Earth. Do you read me? Is anyone out there? We're getting feedback. Let's try another channel. Hello? Hello? This is Dr. Joan Tallis.
What does that mean? I don't understand what
Kimberly,
that means.
In the grand history of the cosmos, more than 13,000 million years old, our Earth is replicated elsewhere. There's another you out there. Now you begin to wonder, has the other me made the same mistakes I've made? And is that me better than this me?
Let me tell you a story. It's about a girl. She does something unforgivable. She goes to apologize, but she loses her nerve. She lies to him. She thinks she might be able to make his life a little bit better. It was really just a way to survive what I've done.
Please don't go. You don't know what's out there.
That's why I would go.
This is a place that I call my home.
I've just concluded watching Another Earth, a film from 2011 directed by Mike Cahill, written alongside the star Britt Marling. And it's, as Roger Ebert would say, it is basically a light, more contemporary version of Andrei Tarkovsky's Solaris. So that's a really simplified way of saying it. I think I had some other thought as I finally got around to the conclusion. It's a story about another Earth just being discovered, which seems to be at first just supporting the ability to support life, similar ecosystems and what have you. But 4 years later, we seemingly have come across a mirror world. But that's really in the background of it. It's more just your, I guess you'd say the Chekhov's gun, which the story is about our main character, Rhoda, who, after getting accepted to MIT the night that we discover this another Earth, being known as Earth 2, she drunkenly drives into a family's car, killing the pregnant mother, the son, and leaving the driver in a coma. And there's just so much that starts to get me angry about the film. Primarily that, okay, so, yeah, accidents are worth 4 years of your life being gone. That's not how we learn, my opinion. So, after attempting suicide upon getting out of jail, she tries to just make amends with John, the driver, who's obviously fallen into deep depression. And after failing to do that, she decides, well, after she chickens out during her effort to talk to him, she decides to pose as a maid service and starts cleaning his house. And eventually romance may bloom, but with that dark secret, how can it actually work? And in the meantime, after her suicide attempt, she decides to apply to be on a civilian shuttle, or I should say rocket, to go to Earth 2. It's all experimental, of course, but she figured if all of Western colonization was based around sending the unwanted, the convicts, and the religious nuts, she's kind of appropriate for that. So, does she get that flight? Do they reconcile? That's basically how the movie goes. The direction is, I think, a little too indie for my taste. It just feels very natural, but it's just, I don't think works with the narrative. I don't want a natural feel. I kind of just want I don't want fast cuts. I don't want any real tricks. I just want the narrative to be the focus, instead of just like, oh, well, we're just following her around. A documentarian style, I guess, is what I'm saying. I just don't want that. I really just want a focus on the action, maybe a more development into something that gives a point of view, I think, from our protagonist. But otherwise, I mean, as I say, it's a rough movie to get into. Like, okay, half hour in, and we're just now getting to her introducing herself into the life of a person she essentially ruined. And, you know, it's just, maybe it hits too many points in my own life. But again, I'm just so angry at the fact that we live in a society where, and it really brings up a lot of questions about society. Like, okay, so you you have an accident, so you must be punished. And it's like, you know, if a kid makes an error and nothing malicious was intended, we don't ground them necessarily. Or maybe I'd be a crap parent. I know I've never been grounded for an accident. Now, I may have acted stupid before, you know, played with matches, and, you know, like, oh, if you're going to venture out that way. So yeah, I get angry at that, and then eventually an element of, well, what if she does get the ticket, and there's millions of more qualified people or more deserving people than an ex-con, which is like, oh, now we, you know, capitalism and making sure that the privileged get first crack at everything. So again, just a lot of elements of society are in this that, you know, really just get angry about, like the reform system and over, again, trivial stuff. You could say, well, 3 dead if you count the unborn child, which I think is BS, unless that's motivation for a murder. So, you know, but, you know, what, you know, I you know, servitude to that person. Yes, you got to make up for it, and yeah, maybe she doesn't get to go to MIT for that poor decision she made. But again, no malicious intent. I just don't feel cool with punishment, I suppose. So call me a softie. So there's just so much in this feature that keeps me a little angsty about that, which might be too much in my case. Like, this is okay. Here we go. I'm saying this is more of there's a Monster Ball type vibe to it, except, you know, that's all circumstance, just coincidental. The relationship between Billy Bob and Halle Berry. So yeah, that's so that's where it is for me. It's like, you know, you bring in elements like, what if she gets the flight? What are the parents going to think? And I've lived through kind of similar situations, and I've had been involved with somebody who, you know, may have been responsible for my best friend's demise, and it's like, that's a mistake, and well, that was probably a more malicious mistake, you know? But can you just go and basically, in the end, it's a story about just, are you going to define yourself by your mistake? And, you know, there's just a chance to go to a cool planet otherwise. So it's a worthwhile watch. As I say, it's a tough one to get into, but I really, really find it just, I mean, it's a touching tale, and that's really, I guess, okay, yeah, I really would like to focus more on the other planet, because, again, I've kind of lived the dealing with the hyperbole murderer of somebody you care about, and, you know, learn to try to live through it. So yeah, it's really affected me, and I guess that if you have had any similar life experience where I guess I might be a little more empathetic and trying to place myself in other people's shoes, and maybe more accepting of, like, well, you can't really do anything about what's happened. I'm sure everybody's been on one side or the other of this, so I think it is a very relatable tale. As I said, I could have used a little more space, but space does kind of pay off in the end. So I would say this is kind of like, Monsters Ball really comes to mind. A Monster Ball meets NASA. So I would check out Another Earth if you just want to engage in a really touching story.
These hands were once used for battle. Now they're but humble tools for peace. I need to figure out exactly who I am. I want to choose my own path. Live in the moment. My superheroing days are over. Told you. You ever feel lost? Just look into the eyes of the people that you love. Not me. What? Just listening.
So, Thor Love and Thunder is, you know, I had fun with it. It has a really just poorly edited, constructed first act, which kind of makes you just hate the fact they wasted the Guardians of the Galaxy with that tease at the end of Endgame. But once you get by that, I think I could have still cut a half hour off this movie. It just seems like Taika Waititi had a lot of great ideas, and visually it works out. Like, you can just tell this is him having a ball. So it looks great, and as I say, it's just the first half hour is just so sloppy, it just feels insulting. But once you get by that, with Thor's adventures and trying to stop the God Butcher and save his true love, Jane Foster, it's is a lot. I think it's a lot of fun, and there's, you know, cheeky little moments where it got me a little teary-eyed. So there's some effective storytelling there. It's just, again, getting through that first act. I'm not saying the first act isn't funny. It's just so, like, basically a YouTube jump cut of out of context Flight of the Conchords montages, or Family Guy would probably be something I'd be more close to watch. Just, oh, this is funny. Let's show it. And I just, again, find that a little too insulting to my attention span, dare I say. Like, no, I want something to be built from this scene. And as I say, they virtually wasted the Guardians of the Galaxy in this one. So and that's just very insulting with the tease. I think we needed at least one Ask Guardians of the Galaxy movie before we moved on to Thor Love and Thunder. So the story is the God Butcher, Gore, played by Christian Bale, and he is great in this film. I think you could basically say, you do not need the Dark Knight, people. He took the best bits of Heath Ledger and gave some great homages to that. So, and, Christian Bale, I mean, aside from, dare I say, Brokeback Mountain, what's on Heath Ledger's resume? So, all right, enough of me bad-mouthing a Christopher Nolan movie that's overrated, I guess. So, the initial goal of Gore, a man who found that his god is nothing more than somebody who enjoyed just being worshipped. And this isn't like our Christian god or Greek gods in Marvel universe. I think we're 12-16. They don't need it. They just figure out people are going to find the stories and they're going to worship again. And we don't actually have to help people. So if they're going to allow for a cruel world, Gore is going to end them all. And now he's on to Thor, seemingly. And in the meantime, Thor is just trying to find himself with the Guardians of the Galaxy. So a lot of hippie stuff there. And Jane Foster is dying of cancer. They don't specify what. I think that would have been a nice detail, just that she's at stage 4. And sadly, I could cut Kat Denning out of this movie. I could have really just all right, let's get her grabbing Mjolnir, and we got a movie. So, but as I say, get past that first act, and I had a lot of fun with this film. And, I guess it's kind of for the kids, dare I say, the entire Guardians of the Galaxy bit. And, we don't really all we get's a lot of use of the word shitty. So is this a build up to the F-bomb in Guardians 3? I don't know. But as I say, visually, it looks pretty good. I love changes when they go to a shadow realm and it basically gets to become a Frank Miller movie. The entire omnipresent city, where we meet Russell Crowe as Zeus, and he's just hamming it up. This is the kind of Russell Crowe I want. So it does a lot of things right. I think Tessa Thompson's pretty solid in it. And you can't help but enjoy those screaming goats in the film. So, and another plus is I really love the homage to just the respect shown to Guns N' Roses, perhaps the best metal band of the 80s. Don't at me, Metallica fans. You know what they sold out. Guns N' Roses is always this tacky hair metal stuff. And I mean, even when I saw them play Glastonbury being aired on BBC when I was in London, it's kind of like, yeah, I can still love it despite Axl can't sing worth a damn now. So, so tearing up moment for me was when the kids are all given powers to fight off shadow monsters, and it kicks into the guitar solo from November Rain. So there we go. So it's I don't know if we have more to do with Thor. I think we've had the closing point for Thor many times, so that's what I really fear, is that we're going to keep dragging him along. Come on, he's a Hemsworth. There's got to be work for him otherwise. As long as we get, I guess, to see Thor 5, I am going to need the Grandmaster to come back. So you get me Jeff Goldblum and Russell Crowe, I will be there opening night. So that's Thor Love and Thunder. I'd say better than Black Widow. Well, more interesting than Black Widow, and just not quite as much, and just a little better story, little better construction. It could have been as good as Multiverse of Madness. So there we are, Thor Love and Thunder.
Can I hear a wahoo?